This talk will be mainly focused on PM's visit to the United States and his meeting with President Obama. As you all know that Prime Minister Manmohan Singh earlier had 2 summits with President Obama, and this was his 3rd summit. And this summit is very important in my view, considering the last few months left for Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, and the kind of unfinished task he is having in his hand at the moment, as far as the India-US relation is concerned. So he went there with a very with full expectations that he will be able to sail through, despite having difficult problems at home. And he tried his best, in my view. What I am reading is that. So he had a meeting with President Obama on 27th of September, and they had a very good meeting, very constructive. In this talk, both the sides expressed their commitment to advancement of this strategic partnership, which both the leaders believed that is the key partnership of the 21st century, and it will be a defining partnership of this century. So both the sides, both the leaders expressed their commitment. But one striking point which came out in this meeting is that both the sides acknowledged the kind of constraints, the kind of problems both the nations are facing in advancing this partnership. For example, Manmohan Singh gave the instance of the poverty scenario in India. He said that India is still a poor country, and we have to do a lot of work in alleviating this poverty problem, and also several other challenges like education, health, and many other problems which India is facing. So he had a very realistic view of this relationship, and he said that United States is required by India and required by his side while dealing with these problems. So responding to Dr. Manmohan Singh's, rather he said, President Obama spoke first, and he said that yes, India is facing these problems and the US is also having a lot of constraints. But despite all these challenges, both the sides can work together and advance this strategic partnership. So I just made this remark because it was very important. I have been arguing from the very beginning that the shared values of democracy and various other values which India shares with the US matters a lot in international relations. And I think that this is a very important clue to furthering advancing this strategic partnership. Then there were several points which were discussed, but main important points which I would like to flag is that the first one is defense. As you know that India and US are having a very close defense cooperation in last decade, and it began with the various joint exercises, and then also various agreements were signed, and currently India and the United States are having 9 billion worth of defense trade, and this number is growing, and so this was highlighted again in this meeting, and it was said that this defense relationship between India and the United States is very critical as far as our strategic partnership is concerned. So, but the one important point which came out during this meeting is that there was a lot of emphasis on joint production, co-development, co-production, and transfer of technologies. This point was a highlighting point of this meeting, which took place in the White House. And also, a defense declaration was signed, was issued after this meeting, and this was very significant, which again further emphasized upon co-production, co-development, and transfer of key high-end technologies to India. Then President Obama welcomed India's decision to participate in the RIMPAC naval exercises, which will happen in 2014, and more than 2 countries, a dozen countries will be participating. Then in this joint declaration, again, United States reaffirmed its full support to India's membership in the 4 international export control regimes, and though things are still going on that front, but this reiteration of the support to this India's bid to the 4 international, multilateral export control regimes is critical. Then, as I said, that energy is another very important area, and as you all know that civil nuclear deal between India and United States is still not implemented completely. But in this meeting, one significant step was taken, that preliminary contract agreement was signed between NPCIL and the Westinghouse company of the United States. So this is a kind of movement forward as far as the India-US energy cooperation is concerned, and this should be seen in a very positive direction. And I hope that further work will be done from both sides, and things will be operationalized very soon. But it is a significant move forward, which can be taken as the outcome of this visit. Then terrorism has been a concern for India, and again, we have been facing this problem on the borders in recent time. And this point also came in the joint declaration as well, that both the sides should work together to mitigate, to deal with the challenge of cross-border terrorism or terrorism in general. Then economy has been a key part of the India-US strategic partnership, and it was noted that since 2001, the trade relationship, trade between India and US has raised fivefold. But there is more prospects for having a greater trade with India and US, and it can raise even fivefold more. So this point was reiterated, and I think, in my view, that there is a lot of scope for economic cooperation with India and the US, and both the sides are taking a lot of steps, like India is liberalizing its entire trade regimes in India, and a lot of reforms are going on. And when our foreign minister met US Secretary of State Kerry in New York, he said that India is taking a lot of steps. And now it's on the US side also to take a lot of steps. Like, for example, the visa regime in the US has been a problem for India. And India said that there has to be a very serious consideration as far as providing H-1B visa to Indians are concerned. And it should not be the various provisions which are being made in the ongoing immigration reforms should not create trouble for Indians working in the United States. Then climate change has been a major issue, not only for India and US, but for the entire world. But this issue has been coming up in India and US time and again. And again, in this dialogue also it was discussed, and there were some details in the joint statement. Then Afghanistan was another issue. As you all know that Afghanistan is a key important country for India's security, especially after 2014. And we have to also be ready to deal with the post-2014 scenario. So in that regard, our Prime Minister raised this issue with President Obama. And President Obama, as you know, that the US is seriously considering what to do, what not to do. So he listened, and both the sides also expressed the commitment that they will be working to a kind of peaceful and prosperous Afghanistan, and security and stability is the key word as far as Afghanistan is concerned after the 2014 scenario. Then non-proliferation was another issue which was discussed, and both the sides are committed towards it, and they said that in the coming meeting in The Hague they will be discussing more on these issues. And India's responsible behavior, India's has been always respected by the United States, and the US expects a lot of cooperation as far as the nuclear security is concerned, and I think India committed towards that. Then two major issues which came up in recent times in the international affairs. The one is Iran, which is, as you all know, that US is having a rapprochement or kind of engagement with Iran at the moment, and in my view, if you ask, then I think it is a right move forward. And it is a good situation for India also. This kind of rapprochement with the US and Iran, India will be in a better situation to deal with both the countries, considering both as very important partners. Then Syria, another issue which came up is Syria, and as you are aware, that Syrian situation is still very dangerous, and both the leaders deplored the use of new chemical weapons in Syria, and stressed that the global norms against the use of chemical weapons by anyone and anywhere must be maintained. Then in this meeting, another very important point which came up during discussion is US rebalancing strategy towards Asian Pacific. As you are aware that US is very much active in this region and wants a lot of cooperation from India, including defense cooperation. We are still considering what is it not. Though we began our look-east policy quite long back in 1991, but there is some convergence And we, both the sides, recognize that on those issues where we are converging, we can work together. Then peacekeeping was mentioned again, and other several issues like we are having a dialogue with Central Asia, East Asia, West Asia. So this I highlighted some of the points which were discussed during this meeting. But let me just share my assessment on this entire meeting. In my view, this partnership, which is based on the shared values and shared interests as well as shared challenges, is moving very much forward. But as I have written also regarding this, that there are a lot of challenges, and challenges mainly come from both the sides at their homes. Like in our sides, there are a lot of domestic problems which we are dealing with, and sometimes we don't get much support for furthering this partnership. But after studying this subject for last decade, people are accepting United States as a closer partner, and things are changing. That hangover which were continuing even after a decade of Cold War is gradually reducing, and I believe that both the democracies are coming closer, and with a lot of public support. But still, I feel that a lot of work needs to be done, and in that regard, I think our people at home, our leaders, our mass media, our parliamentarians, they can play a lot of role in furthering, in advancing this partnership. Similarly, it is not that only in India we are facing this problem. In the US also, there are a lot of issues is being discussed, and a lot of reservations regarding India. So that on their front as well, there is a work need to be done. For example, regarding India's economic policy, there is a very hard stand from the US domestic constituencies, some of the core domestic constituencies comprising both Republican and Democrat. So those can be avoided, and those can be constructive. I mean, criticism is okay, but that has to be constructive. And thus constructive criticism advances a partnership, advances a relationship. So I think that on home fronts, there are a lot of work needs to be done from both the sides. Then another point which is constraining is our various regional realities. Like we are in a different position, US is in a different position. So both the sides are understanding probably these constraints. As I said in the beginning that they discussed these constraints in their meetings, both the leader, President Obama, and Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, and both the sides are realizing these constraints and also working towards it to how to address this. So this is, I think, would be a critical element, that how deeply we understand our challenges, how deeply we understand our realities. And once our expectations are based on these realities, then I think partnership will be a mature one. And in recent, at least 3-4 years, I have been seeing that a lot of this understanding has been developed, and this partnership is gradually maturing, in my view. And India and the US are also collaborating on, as I mentioned, a lot of fronts. But one main point I would like to highlight is that sometimes it is viewed that India and US are collaborating to contain any other third country, which is, I think, in my view, would be the not right perspective to see this relationship. Because considering our imperatives, you see our imperatives, or if you see the US imperatives, there are a lot of work needs to be done internally in our own nation. We have still a large population which is below poverty line, which is still large population which is not properly employed. Still we have a large population which is not skilled. So why not to focus on our internal issues? Why not US should focus on their internal issues, countries? So I believe that it should not be viewed as a containment strategy towards China. It should be viewed as our own code development or code production, which is being talked about in the defense sector, which is true in any other sector. And I have been of the view that if China is willing to come and join in this entire process, here I am just mentioning that if there is a India, US, China collaboration on many sectors, many fronts, that would be the welcome idea. And I feel that that's the idea we can consider. We should consider, rather it's my personal view. And it should be debated whether it is possible. I remember there were some delegation from KK came to IDSA a few months back, And they said that they are interested a lot in investing in India, in India's capability building. So if they are willing to share their expertise in developing India's capabilities, then we should welcome that at the same time. So there is a possibility, a scope for India, US, China, trilateral cooperation on many sectors, if not all the sectors. Then I think that idea is worth considering.